Living under a false identity for 3 years had taught me something unexpected. The hardest part of witness protection wasn't hiding from dangerous criminals. It was pretending to be someone else around the people who thought they knew me best. My family believed I was Sarah Chin, a 29-year-old data analyst working remotely for a dull tech company in Seattle. They had no idea Sarah Chin was a carefully constructed federal identity created to protect Rebecca Martinez, the former financial analyst whose testimony had destroyed a $2.88 billion money laundering operation run by the Klov crime family. The real me had spent 4 years at Meridian Investment Partners, gradually uncovering evidence that the firm was being used to wash money for Russian organized crime. Once I'd gathered enough proof to hand over to federal authorities, my life changed overnight. One day I was Rebecca Martinez, an ambitious analyst with a corner office in Manhattan. The next I was a federal witness under 24-hour protection, watching colleagues get arrested on RICO charges while the Klov family put a $5 million bounty on my head. The U.S. Marshals relocated me to Portland under the WITSEC program, complete with a new social security number, fabricated employment history, and strict protocols designed to keep me alive until the federal trials concluded. My handler, Deputy Marshal James Morrison, had made the rules crystal clear. No contact with anyone from my past, no social media, no activities that might draw attention, and absolutely no financial transactions that could be traced back to Rebecca Martinez. For 3 years I followed those rules religiously. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a used Honda, worked my fake remote job, and slowly built relationships with my new family. According to the cover story, I was Janet Chin's long-lost cousin, finally reconnecting after years of estrangement. Janet welcomed me with open arms. Her daughter, Lisa, was thrilled to have a successful older cousin to look up to, and even Grandma Chin accepted me without question. They didn't know that their loving Sarah was actually a federal witness whose real family believed she died in a staged car accident. Hundreds had attended Rebecca Martinez's funeral while I quietly began a new life 3,000 miles away. The financial restrictions of WITSEC were the hardest part for me. I'd gone from managing multimillion-dollar portfolios on a 6-figure salary to scraping by on the modest income of a fake data analyst. My accounts were closely monitored. Sarah Chin was supposed to live paycheck to paycheck. Any deviation could trigger alerts and possibly expose me. Naturally, my modest lifestyle raised questions. My new family thought I was struggling. They began covering my share of dinners and outings, insisting I let them help. I always declined as politely as I could, but refusing too often felt suspicious. "Too careful," Lisa teased once. "You never buy anything nice. When's the last time you went on vacation?" I could never tell her that vacations weren't an option when Russian assassins were hunting me. So I smiled and played the role of a frugal cousin. The real trouble began 6 months ago. Mom asked to borrow my credit cards for Dad's medical bills. Their own cards were maxed out from his surgery. She promised to pay me back immediately. Reluctantly I agreed. The Marshals had set up my cards with small limits, $503,000, to fit my cover. Mom paid me back in 2 weeks just as she said she would. But she also kept the card information, just in case. At first she only used them for true emergencies. Car repairs, vet bills, Lisa's textbooks. Always with permission, always paid back. I started to relax, thinking small amounts wouldn't attract attention. That was my first mistake. My second was underestimating Mom's growing sense of entitlement. Emergencies turned into conveniences. Conveniences turned into assumptions. Soon she treated my cards like a family resource. When I protested, she called me selfish. Then came last Wednesday. Mom went shopping. Retail therapy, she called it. Just some clothes and maybe a little jewelry. "Don't worry, I won't go crazy." The next morning I got the dreaded text. "Alert! Your Visa card ending in 4738 has exceeded its limit." Panic hit. Customer service explained. 23 transactions in one day. Nordstrom, Macy's, Kay Jewelers, Sephora, Williams-Sonoma, Coach, Michael Kors. The balance was now $5,847 on a $5,000 limit. My second card. Also maxed. Another $3,000. $8,000 in one day. When I confronted Mom, she was unapologetic. Everything was on sale. "I saved us hundreds." "You spent $8,000 we don't have," I snapped. "Don't be dramatic. We'll pay it back over time. Families always do." But in WITSEC, overtime doesn't exist. The spike had already triggered monitoring alerts. Any unusual financial activity could flag me to the Klov family's network. By Saturday, Mom had escalated the issue. She called a family dinner, not to apologize but to frame me as overreacting. Wearing her new diamond earrings, she announced, "Sarah doesn't trust her own family to repay a simple loan." "About $8,000, she said casually when Grandma asked. "But everything was on sale. It was a great deal." Lisa whistled. "Wow. What did you buy?" "Things I needed. Jewelry, a winter coat, kitchen appliances, skincare. You know, essentials." Grandma nodded approvingly. Sarah should be happy to help her family enjoy life. All eyes turned to me. I couldn't say the truth, that her spree endangered not only me but them too. So I chose my words carefully. "It's just a lot of money at once. I'm worried about my credit and making the payments." "We'll help," Dad assured me. "It could take years," I countered. "So what?" Lisa shrugged. "You live like a monk anyway." "I deserve nice things after raising this family," Mom declared, gesturing to her new bracelet. "She earned it," Lisa chimed in. "Mom deserves beautiful things." The conversation devolved into everyone justifying Mom's spree and dismissing my concerns. I sat there in silence, knowing none of them could possibly understand. They saw me as Sarah Chin, stingy, anxious, dramatic. They didn't know I was Rebecca Martinez, living under federal protection, and that $8,000 in credit card debt might very well cost me my life. Grandma Chin told stories about her own mother, who had never owned anything nice because she always put the family first. Lisa argued that $8,000 wasn't that much when spread out over several years of payments. I stayed silent during their celebration, knowing anything I said would make me seem selfish and unreasonable. They had no idea their generosity might be signing my death warrant by triggering federal monitoring systems with unauthorized credit activity. "I understand your perspective," I finally said after they finished explaining why I should be grateful to help Mom enjoy life. "I just need some time to figure out the best way to handle the payments." "See," Mom said triumphantly. "Sarah's being reasonable now. She knows family takes care of family." But I didn't feel reasonable. I felt terrified about what the credit monitoring alerts might trigger, and how quickly the marshals would react to what they'd see as a major protocol violation. The call came Monday afternoon while I was at my fake remote job, replying to emails about data analytics projects that didn't really exist. My secure phone buzzed with the distinctive ringtone that meant Deputy Marshal Morrison was calling for an urgent matter. "Sarah, your cover's been blown by credit activity," he said without preamble. "We've got automated alerts showing massive unauthorized charges on both of your established credit accounts." My heart stopped. What exactly does that mean? "It means someone has used your Sarah Chin identity to make purchases that don't match your established financial profile. $8,000 in luxury goods purchases in a single day. That kind of activity triggers automatic reviews that could expose your location." "It was my family," I said quickly. "They used my credit cards. It wasn't unauthorized. I gave them permission." "You gave them permission to blow your cover," Morrison replied, incredulous. "We've talked about this. Your financial profile is a crucial part of your protection. Any deviation from your established spending patterns can trigger alerts that lead the Kosov family right to you." "I didn't know they were going to spend that much," I protested. "They told me it would be a small shopping trip." "A small shopping trip doesn't max out 2 credit cards at luxury retailers. The algorithms are already flagging this as suspicious. We're going to have to consider emergency relocation." The words hit me like a physical blow. 3 years of building relationships, creating a life, becoming part of a family, gone overnight because Mom decided she deserved nice things. "How bad is it?" I asked. "Bad enough that we're already running threat assessments on your current location," he said. "If the CLA family has access to the same monitoring systems we do, and they probably do, they could link the anomalous credit activity to your Portland address within days." "What are my options?" Option 1. Immediate emergency relocation to a new city with a new identity. Option 2. Try to contain the damage by creating a plausible explanation for the sudden spending increase and hope the CLA family doesn't notice the alerts. Neither option is appealing. Emergency relocation would mean abandoning the Chin family without explanation. disappearing overnight and leaving them to wonder what happened to their cousin Sarah. But staying in Portland risked exposure to a crime family that had already shown it could kill federal witnesses. How long do I have to decide? 48 hours maximum. If we're going to relocate you, we need to move fast before any potential threats mobilize. The call ended with Morrison promising an update within 24 hours. I spent the rest of the afternoon staring at my screen, pretending to work while my world narrowed to the size of that phone call. That evening I called an emergency family meeting at Mom's house, framing it as damage control for the credit card charges. When everyone assembled, Dad asked, "What kind of damage?" "The credit card companies are flagging the activity as suspicious," I said. "Large purchases at luxury retailers don't match my spending profile. They're threatening to freeze the accounts and launch fraud investigations." "Fraud investigations?" Lisa looked worried. "We weren't committing fraud. You gave Mom permission." "From their perspective," I said, "it looks like someone stole my cards and went on a spree. Once they open an investigation, they look at everything. Your financial history, employer, credit checks, and they can involve law enforcement if they think charges are warranted." "Law enforcement?" Grandma Mutton looked alarmed. "For shopping. They treat it like potential identity theft," I said. "We need to act fast." "What do you need us to do?" Dad asked. "Return everything that can be returned immediately," I said. "And pay off both cards within the week to minimize the time they stay maxed out." Mom protested, but when I pressed for specifics, what could be returned, what had been engraved or used, her defensiveness hardened. She'd already worn some clothes and had engraved jewelry. "Mom," I said, "we're talking about potential fraud investigations. Your new earrings aren't worth criminal charges." "Criminal charges seem dramatic," Lisa said. "Surely they don't prosecute family for authorized purchases. They prosecute anyone they believe is committing fraud," I said. "Right now the data looks like someone stole my identity and maxed out my cards at luxury stores. That's textbook credit fraud." Mom looked stricken. "I didn't know it would cause all this. I thought it was just shopping." "I know, Mom. But now we need to fix it before it gets worse." The next 24 hours were frantic. Mom returned about $3,000 worth of items, mostly clothes with tags still attached. Jewelry and electronics were non-returnable. We were left with roughly $5,000 that needed to be paid immediately. Dad emptied their savings for $2,500. Lisa contributed $1,000 from her college fund. I used my own savings for the remaining $1,500, money I couldn't afford to lose, but money I had to spend to protect my cover. Tuesday morning Morrison called with an update. "The rapid payoff reduced some algorithmic flags," he said. "The bad news is the initial alerts were already distributed to multiple monitoring systems." "What does that mean for my safety?" "We're in a waiting period. If the Klov family has access to real-time credit monitoring, as they probably do, they've already seen the alerts. Now we find out whether they're actively tracking Sarah Chin's financial activity. If they are, you're compromised and we need to move you immediately." The waiting was the worst part. Every phone call, every knock at the door, every unexpected noise sent adrenaline through me. I checked the security cameras obsessively and varied my routines like in those first terrified months of witness protection. The Chin family thought my paranoia was stress about the cards and tried to reassure me. "The cards are paid off," Mom said in one of her check-ins. "You can relax now, Sarah." I couldn't. 3 years of careful cover maintenance could have been undone in a single day of luxury shopping. On Thursday afternoon Morrison confirmed my worst fear. "We've detected monitoring activity on your credit files," he said. "Someone with sophisticated access has been running queries on Sarah Chin's financial history." The searches started immediately after the credit alerts went out. The patterns match methods we've seen before, likely the Kosaw family. "So what happens now?" I asked. "Now we implement emergency relocation protocols. You have 6 hours to pack essential items. A transport team will pick you up at 11 p.m. tonight. They know where you are. We can't wait for a convenient time." The final family dinner was the hardest part. I sat around my mother's table listening to Dad talk about his recovery and Grandma Chin reminisce about her garden, knowing I would never see them again. They'd planned a small celebration for my upcoming birthday. They didn't know Sarah Chin would be dead by then, replaced by another carefully constructed identity in another city. We should go shopping for your birthday next week, Lisa suggested. I saw some things at the mall you'd love. That sounds great, I replied. Another lie. Next week I might be Rebecca Martinez again, or Maria Rodriguez, or some other fabricated person with a new history and a new family. We need to start planning the 4th of July barbecue, Mom added. You're in charge of desserts this year. I'll start thinking about recipes, I said, tucking the lie into the thousands I'd told over 3 years. As I hugged them goodbye that night, I tried to memorize faces and voices, knowing this was the last time Sarah Chin would exist. Tomorrow there would be another identity, another family, until someone else's mistake exposed my location. Thank you for everything, I told Mom as she walked me to the car. You've been amazing to me, she said. We're family, Sarah. That's what family does. If only she knew that her shopping spree had destroyed the only family I'd had these past 3 years. The transport team arrived at 11 p.m. Federal agents helped me pack the few possessions Sarah Chin could take. The apartment, the job, the relationships, the memories, all of it stayed behind. We drove through the Portland night toward the airport. Where are we going? I asked. Phoenix, Agent Martinez replied. You'll be Maria Rodriguez, a freelance graphic designer who just moved from San Francisco. Another name. Another identity. Another family I might someday have to abandon. The irony was cruel. Mom had said she deserved nice things after years of sacrifice. But her nice things had cost me the family I'd sacrificed everything to be part of. The $25,000 shopping spree had erased everything I'd built as Sarah Chin. But Rebecca Martinez was still alive. As long as I breathed, there was the possibility of another life in another city. Another chance to be loved and then perhaps unknowingly endangered again. That's the price of staying alive when people want you dead. Sometimes the very love that makes life worth living is the thing that makes it impossible to stay safe.